With her eyes shut, tears started streaming down her face as she dreamed of the past. Regardless of how much effort she had invested, she would never be able to get close to him. Many times, sorrow not known to others could only be released in dreams as though it was engraved in the heart, and no matter how hard you ignored it, it would explode at the slightest touch, erupting into million pieces, inflicting an unbearable and endless pain. Qiaoangxia had always been an average student with mediocre grades and had entered a local university in Shanghai. Even though Qiaoangxia and Qiaoanhao weren't biological sisters, they still came from the same ancestral home, and ever since Qiaoanhao's parents died in a car accident, she had been living in the same house as Qiaoangxia, forming a tie akin to that of sisters. Qiaoangxia left her hometown for Shanghai and would often call Qiaoanhao and Shuojiamu, inviting them to come over. After multiple invites, Qiaoanhao and Shuojiamu finally caved, flying over during winter. Shanghai was similar to Beijing, both flourishing cities without much for play. Hence, Qiaoangxia suggested they head over to Hangzhou. Shuojiamu had no objections, and, since Lu Jinian was there, Qiaoanhao obviously didn't have any objections either. The three of them then headed for Hangzhou. Shuojiamu and Lu Jinian were biological brothers with different mothers, but they had always been close. With just a phone call, Shuojiamu managed to successfully invite Lu Jinian out. They stayed for 4 days and Lu Jinian accompanied them through all of them, from Westlake Broken Bridge to Liifeng Tower, from Linjin Temple to Xixi Wetland. After spending 4 days and 12 meals together, Qiaoanhao managed to get closer to Lu Jinian than in the 4 years they had spent as schoolmates. On the last day in Hangzhou, they visited Hangzhou Shopping Mall. As girls, she and Angxia wanted to buy all the pretty things there, and, since they had always been close to Shuojiamu, who was rich, they spent his money mercilessly. Spending a few thousand on a simple item was a usual occurrence for the three of them, but Lu Jinian grew increasingly silent, the light in his eyes dimming as he saw them spending money so freely. In the end, he threw an excuse before going to the washroom. Sitting in one of the tiny cubicles, he took long deep puffs from his cigarette, quickly finishing the whole box he had in his pocket. Just then, they called to ask where he was. In Hangzhou, Qiaoanhao added Lu Jinian on QQ and would often find an excuse to talk to him when she returned to Zhengkong. Even though they were only making small talk, the conversation never seemed to end. As long as their hearts were close, distance was not an issue.